So I've been playing White Day. Valentine's Day, chocolates, awkward teenagers, red roses, loneliness, despair, death. And White Day is pretty much the same. You see, in Japan, China, and Korea, instead of Valentine's Day, they have White Day. And it is on this fateful day that the game starts. Well, actually, it starts the day before. Anyway, our titular hero Yu-Min gathers up all his courage to give the girl of his dreams so young some chocolates. But as he approaches her, a gust of wind fucks up his plans to get some. Thing is, a page from her diary blows away and lands at his feet. Being the gentleman that he is, he picks it up and stares at it. She then gets a little angry with him and walks away, accidentally leaving behind her diary. So Yu-Min decides the best course of action would be to take it and bring it to her along with the chocolates. However, he does this way after the school is closed and finds himself getting locked in. And wouldn't you know, as is obviously tradition in Korea, the school is haunted. And now, it's up to Yu-Min to find a way out. Now, the reason that I find this game as interesting as I do is the fact that the game plays exactly like the Amnesia and Penumbra games. I would say that the Amnesia devs could have been inspired by this if it wasn't for the fact that this game is barely known outside of Korea. And even in Korea itself, it pretty much went straight under the radar. But nevertheless, it's exactly the same gameplay-wise. You play the game in first person, there's almost always something or someone chasing you. Most of the game's backstory is told via notes, and you need to solve puzzles in traditional survival horror style. Outside of that, the game has a bunch of other features standard to the survival horror genre, like the controls being a bit iffy, and the fact that you need pens to save, kinda like the ink ribbons in Resident Evil. You can also find food and drinks that replenish your health and stamina, and you can find money to buy additional food and drinks from vending machines. I do have one little problem with how you pick up items though. Thing is that before you can pick something up, you need to examine it. The problem here is that you need to do that with every little thing every time, even with items you already picked up a bunch of times before. And sure, it's kind of a minor problem, but I did find myself getting a little annoyed with it as the game went on. Now, in this game, you'll mostly be chased by the janitor. The scariest thing about him is the fact that he carries a flashlight. So even in the darkest of corners, the fucker is still likely to spot you and give you a good old beating. And with no way to defend yourself, the best thing to do is run for your life. And trust me, you'll be doing a lot of that. This is both the game's strongest point and its weakest point. It's a strong point in the sense that, unlike a lot of other games like it, the comfortableness never sets in, and the janitor remains a constant threat. And it's bad in the sense that it does get a little tiring to be on edge almost 100% of the time. One thing that makes this game scarier to me than other games like it is the fact that it keeps a sense of mystery about some of its enemies. There's no big reveal or anything like that. For the entire game, they remain as scary and mysterious as they were when you first encountered them. Also, the game has a few boss fights, which are basically puzzles since the game has no real combat. I'd say the bosses are really the only big glaring downside to this game. Thing is, the mechanics are rather tedious, and the sounds they make are just beyond annoying. I can definitely see that as enough of an annoyance for someone to just stop playing. Also, the puzzles of the bosses in question just aren't fair at all. Thing is, the translation, while greatly appreciated, is far from perfect. As far as the story is concerned, it's not too much of a problem, but for the puzzles it is. Because the notes you'll find in this game contain the only clues the game gives you as to how to solve these puzzles. But the notes are written in a language somewhere between Neanderthal and rubbing your elbow over a keyboard. So you'll probably be needing a guide for this, and thank fuck there actually is one. Anyway, despite the annoying boss sounds, the game's sound design and atmosphere is really the main reason you'd want to be playing this. Thing is, for most of the time, all you'll be hearing is your own footsteps and the rain against the windows in the background. This really puts you on edge while exploring. And then, out of nowhere... Now, this game doesn't really do jump scares, but it's just so goddamn tense that every little sound you make just makes you jump anyway. Also, you may have noticed that the game looks dated as shit. That's because the game's initial release was all the way back in 2000. But to be honest, I actually really like the graphics. Maybe it's just a nostalgia thing, but I really have a soft spot for PS2 or Dreamcast era graphics. Anyway, because of the game's initial poor sales, the company that made it sadly went bankrupt, and the game became abandonware. Luckily, the modding community picked it up, translated it, and started patching the game to run better on modern systems. With the state it's in right now, it should run fine for pretty much everyone, and it's completely free as well. Also, the game used to be buggy as shit when I first started playing it, and that seems to be completely ironed out right now. Anyway, the game definitely has a certain charm to it. If that charm appeals to you, you'll be able to look past its shortcomings, and you'll probably end up loving it. However, if it doesn't appeal to you, you'll probably be put off by all of its problems. In any case, I've put a link in the description to the most recent patch if you feel like giving this a go. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to end this video.